welcome again to everyone to this week's Sanctuary. This is week 2 of a 3-part series. Last week we did modesty. This week it's courtship. Next week I think it's marriage / pregnancy was mentioned, but I doubt it. I think that was a joke. So a special welcome also to the new faces here. I can't see all the faces, but everyone, welcome aboard. Hope all of you will enjoy this next 30 minutes. And a special welcome also to our lovely speakers, Saumya and Della. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you, so I'm not going to take any longer. Over to you.
Good to unmute, isn't it, before you start speaking? So it's lovely to see you all, and really, we, more than the screen, I wish we could be there. We could talk to you and get to know you where you're at. And I think we'll keep this as a lovely conversation because we want to hear from you. We want to hear what are your struggles, where are you at, what is really going on. And it's a bit hard to do that over the screen. So we will be sharing a little bit of thoughts that we had, and then it'd be lovely to have a conversation. And it's lovely if you disagree, but we'll just try to chat. So don't see us as speakers, and we're definitely here and not here to give you definite answers. Just like last week, we want to set you on a journey, and we know for sure that this journey is definitely worth pursuing. So that's why so we'll give you some thoughts and then we'll chat if that's all right, and we really want to hear from you. So ending from last time to this time, yes, you might be looking for something and you might be having thoughts in your mind of what you want to hear. But I wanted to ask you, we were singing all this while and we were saying, we want to do God's will, but more than anything, do you know that you are a beloved, precious son or daughter of God? Are you sure that you are that right now, today? You always were. You are a perfect thought in the Father's heart before you even started existing. Do you believe that? Do you know that? That is the truth about you. And when we say that we have a loving Father, it's not a joke. It's, I would really picture yourself that this Father has thought you out, and he can only do perfect things. He can create perfectly, and you are that perfect creation. I don't actually know where to look at because this camera is really confusing me. So I really want to say it to your face, okay? So please take it, all of you. And he doesn't make a mistake. And have you ever considered, I'm sure you have read this verse 1,000,000 times maybe, or you're hearing it the first time. It's the same. Jeremiah 29:11, where God says, I have a plan for you, a plan for your welfare and not for your destruction. A plan filled with hope, to give you hope and a future. So, if you came into this talk thinking, gosh, I'm feeling miserable, you're not alone, okay? But there is somebody out there who has this beautiful plan, who's wishing the best for you. And have you really ever considered that Jesus really means it when he says in John 10:10, I have come so that you have life and life in abundance. Abundance, what does it mean? Fullness of joy, fullness of life, fullness of, excitement, fullness of real fulfillment where, you don't have to fake it. There is real joy that is for you to experience in Jesus. Really, that's what he wants for you now. Now, when we talk about this topic, people are in two types of frustration. Either they're in a frustration, they kind of really know what they want, but they can't get it, either because of circumstances of family or friends or cultural background or somebody or their own ideals restraining them. Or they're in another type of frustration that they think, gosh, I've messed it all up. There's really no hope. So they're like, this is a hopeless thing. And so we want to look at it completely different. We want to tell you that, or we're here to kind of remind you that Jesus's promises that there is life in its fullness and in abundance every step of the way. Okay, it's not like now we're in limbo, we're longing for the paradise. But no, every day of our life and every state that we're in is meant to be that life in abundance. It's not some kind of, state where we lack anything. So in that context that Jesus wants to give you life in abundance, we just want to open your eyes that, yes, this talk is about dating and courtship, but do you know that there's different vocation paths out there to choose from and to give you that, that life in abundance, the best version of your life, religious life, priesthood, and marriage or singlehood. All of these are not like, don't think priests and nuns are happy and they've given up something and they're like really miserable. I'm sure in Ireland you have seen lovely priests and nuns and they're like living their life in abundance, and so that's a lovely way. Marriage, don't think that marriage doesn't have loneliness or difficulties as well. So all of these vocation paths, they're out there for you to discover at this time. That's the great news. Okay, you have a choice. You have it's a big, lots of choices. And also I wanted just to remind you, what is the definite goal of your life? If we think the church is any good on this, and she usually does, church is really wise, and we discover that she was right in the first place from 0 AD to today. The catechism, that it starts with, what is our goal for our life? It's to know, love, and serve God so that I will be happy with him in heaven. And we don't think of that, do we? We think of, okay, what's my goal in life? Get the best job out there, get the best chances at, my career, get, those kind of things. How do I amass money? But actually, it's to be happy with God in heaven. The world is thy ship, not thy home, where St. Therese reminds us. So with this background, what is your goal? Suppose you were running a race and wanted the medal. Would you not consult the best coaches, veteran athletes, take the best nutrition? I know there's some athletes in here in this group as well, so they know what I'm talking about, right? And like, if you have this lofty goal, you'll make steps, right? How to get there. And if you look at our spiritual life, the nutrition are the sacraments, Eucharist, reconciliation, to stay on the path. And the best training is like growing in virtues, in chastity, temperance, all of it, fortitude. And the best coaches and veteran athletes are probably people who are journeying along in our faith journey, like spiritual, friends that are further along in our faith journey. We call them spiritual elders in Jesus Youth. They're also people that offer spiritual direction. So won't you make use of that to really focus to get to that goal? And why is this so important? Why am I going on and on and on and on about this? Because what you do now or do not do now matters for the rest of your life. Okay? So what you do now and what you do not do, both matters. Grace builds on nature. God's grace doesn't, when grace comes on me, for example, when I go to the sacrament of confession or Eucharist or whatever, God doesn't diminish Saumya. Like he doesn't like, erase me and then puts a perfect thing on top of me. No, he pours grace into my life. So where I'm at now matters. So however much I'm open, grace can work through me. Yes? Does that make sense? It doesn't destroy it. So whatever vocation you choose, the day you enter into the vocation doesn't magically make you a different person. Okay? It gives you grace, yes. But where you are at in your journey matters. So let me be really blunt. And, this is really not to discourage you or anything. But if you're still struggling with a porn addiction or, masturbation addiction or any kind of other addiction for that matter, it's directly going to affect your priestly vocation or you being a nun or you being a married woman or a man. Don't think on marriage day it's going to just disappear. Or whether you can chastely interact with the opposite sex, with members of the opposite sex, is directly going to affect your ability to be faithful to your vocation that you choose, to your spouse, to your parish, or to your religious community. Okay? So what I want to say is, and this was true to my life, rather than longing for another person to fulfill me, and that can usually be the struggle when you're like on the search or when you're in this age and you're like not really sure. You're always like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I don't have a boyfriend, or I do have a boyfriend, or is this the right person? And all this kind of things going on. And I do get that. But rather than longing for another person to complement and fulfill us, we need to learn to be comfortable in our own skin first, in our own company, like enjoy life as it is. And we can't always run after what culture calls as the only way to be happy. This period of life where you're at is beautiful, is precious. That's where you can work on yourself, work with God, and becoming the best version of yourself. So this is the good news, okay? This is not about state at all. Whoever told you differently is wrong. And then when you're happy, when you're fulfilled, I remember my own mother saying, you should be traveling, you should be pursuing these interests that you have. You should be trying out different things. So, I love to try different craft things. I love to travel. I still love to discover new places or just go to new kind of outdoor places, nature, all these kind of things I really enjoy. And I enjoyed that before I chose my state of life, and I still do. And that enriches my life today. And that challenges me to look out for new things that I can always do. And that, anyways. So, so then when you're ready, and then when then it's easy to give something to the person that you're giving. So either Jesus in a priestly vocation, in a religious life, you can give yourself to Jesus and your community or your parish, or when you get married, you give it. There is something to give. There is something within you that you can give to the other person, right? It's not about receiving always, like we said last time. It's also being able to give. So I would say whatever word you use about dating and courtship, you have to, it's got very different meanings if you look at the culture. But what we want to encourage you is to think, ask yourself the question, what is my aim? Why am I thinking about this, or why am I pursuing this? Where am I aiming at? Am I aiming at, using people for my own gratification, or am I really aiming at choosing a state of life, choosing marriage, or considering marriage? Is it marriage? Is it to choose a life partner who's going to be there for the rest of your life? So, even if I'm waiting now, and even if it might really sound desperate, in the long term picture, are these years really so bad? No. because it's going to be for the rest of your life anyways, right? And you know, and if you're choosing somebody, then if you have this bigger picture in mind, if you're looking for somebody that journeys with you to heaven, then things like hooking up, casual relationships are actually hindering you on this race. I'm not sure if they're helpful then for this goal. And you know, when you're genuinely discerning whether this is the right, you know, person or the right way forward, you may have to be mature enough to not lead the relationship so far on as to you know, break either you or the other person. Remember, this is why we talked about it's about you as well as other people that you're interacting with. That's why this modesty is so important as well. And you know, another thing that I am going to say, and I know, you know, it might not really sit comfortably with you if I, you know, but if you're going, if this ultimate goal is heaven, you want someone who strives with you for that, okay? As eagerly as you, because the journey isn't so easy or straightforward. And for themselves, they should be striving. For children you might have in marriage, and as hard that, you know, that sounds, if that person doesn't have the same goal, athletes among you can understand. If you're both sitting in a boat, somebody's rowing this way and the other person's rowing another way, how are you ever going to get to a goal? Okay. And you know, also when we think about this topic, it is probably really important, and it's very countercultural probably what I'm saying, but you want to get to know that person, their character, their interests, their likes, when you're considering, you know, to marry somebody. And you don't want to go down this path of exclusive relationships so quickly that, you know, kind of your hormones get in the way and then you're blinded to the real character and the real essence of that person. And so you might have to put some things in place to not lead you down that path too quickly. And, you know, I really think that you need to, first of all, and, you know, I'm going to hand it over to Della in a minute, and she'll share a little bit from her experiences. But you really have to, and this is what we're here for, to give you, you know, think about the bigger picture. Think about, my life is so precious. And the people around me are precious. And when I am going on the search, you know, to find my vocation, you know who's even more eager than you? There's a person who's even more eager than you that you will find the right way. That's God. Because he is so much concerned, you know, he's so much more concerned for you than you are for yourself. So guess who's cheering you on? It's God. Yes. So over to you, Della.
Hi guys, I'll spotlight 1 second. It'd be nice to see more faces. If more people could come on camera, it'd be really good to see more of you. But JJ said about experience. All I'm going to share with you today is just a couple of things that came to my mind when I was preparing for this topic on courtship. And a lot of it is from JJ said experience. A lot of it is from seeing, you know, really beautiful marriages around me, and a lot of elders and you know, other people in the movement who have been preparing, and just seeing them. And based on that, I want to share a couple of things. So what I'll be sharing with you today is about Mother Mary. And Mother Mary is a model of courtship. And probably when you're thinking about Mother Mary, who is somebody who never courted, or, you know, there's no kind of mention of her having gone through any similar process in the Bible, you're probably thinking, how can she be a model? But there's three particular things I want to invite you guys to look at today. And the first, when it comes to courting, when it comes to maybe some of us who are maybe thinking, am I ready to court, or am I ready to get married, and all these things. I just want to talk about three particular things which may help you. And like I said, like Gigi said, we want it to be a discussion. So if there's anything that you agree with or disagree with, just note it down and feel free to ask. So the first thing is how Mother Mary lived a life of service to God and to others around her. So, like Gigi really beautifully said, our call as Christians, our call as Catholics, is essentially to holiness. It's to be saints. That's our primary vocation. And when we look at the life of Mother Mary, everything that she did was leading to that life of holiness. She did everything that God wanted of her. She did things to please God, and she trusted that God would then, when she did that, allow all things to fall into place for her good. And actually it's the same for each one of us. This whole period of singlehood, like Gigi said, is sometimes portrayed as something that's negative or something that's pitiable, or like a time of rush where we are so running to find this man or this woman who will fulfill us. But singlehood is actually meant to be, like Gigi said, a time that's beautiful. It's a time where we pursue our talents, we pursue our gifts that God has given us, that we grow in ourselves and we grow in virtue and charism from the gifts that God has given us. And Gigi also said this really beautiful. I'm just going to go over it again because I feel like we're so busy with running around trying to find somebody. Sometimes we forget that finding the right person starts with being the right person. And this the best version of ourselves is probably the best gift that we can give to another person. So this time of singlehood should be one in which all of us, whether we are courting or not, should be one in which we're preparing ourselves to give ourselves the best version of ourselves to the person that God has created for us. And just on the same note, this time of singlehood and this time of aloneness is and should be a time where we can come to God and ask Him to fill our hearts. And we hear this so much. Only God can fulfill our hearts. And in a society that maybe romanticizes marriage, or in a society that says only there's nobody a spouse, a husband, or a wife will fulfill your hearts, it's hard to sometimes believe that. I remember when I was preparing for this thought came to my mind when I was growing up. So me and my sister were very hardcore fans of Twilight. So we'd wait for each other and we'd go, I'd wait for her to come back from uni and would go to the cinemas and watch it together. And I'd go home and lie in bed and I'd dream about this, Edward Cullen who'd one day sweep me off my feet. And we have this image of this perfect person, and obviously that doesn't happen. And when we think of things like that, we're setting ourselves up to fail, because essentially there is nobody that can fill this infinite longing, this longing that we feel is something infinite. And no Edward Cullen can fill that. There's nobody that can fill that apart from God. And this is something that I've always struggled with. I think a lot of us who have been brought up in a generation which romanticizes people like Edward Cullen, or if you're a Jacob fan, then him, and we always think this, right? But whenever I struggle with it, there's this passage from the Psalms that I always say, and I just want to share that with you today. And it's Psalm 63 or 63. Yeah, and it says, "O Lord, you are my God. For you I long. For you my body yearns. For you my soul thirsts." And it goes on to say, your love is better than life itself. So Mother Mary understood that, there's nothing in this world. People can say whatever, anybody. I'm sure she had a lot of times when people were commenting on the fact that she was pregnant before marriage, all these things. And similarly, we'll have these struggles as well. And we'll have this longing as well. But the first thing we need to come to understand is the fact that only God can fulfill our hearts. Okay, secondly, Mother Mary was in tune with the voice of God, and He guided her path. And as many of us are Jesus youth, and many of us are Christians, and we probably we probably do pray, but when it comes to marriage, when it's one of the biggest decisions of our life, or when it comes to courtship, that's where God plays the biggest role, because it's one of the biggest decisions that we'll make in our lives. And when we come to dialogue with him, when we come to sit with him, when we come to ask him, a lot of the questions that we might have, like, how many dates should I go on, or how do I know this is the one that God has set out for me, will fall into place. And that's probably not what you guys want to hear, but it's something that's very true. God will reveal to us when we ask him. The more we involve him, the more he'll reveal to us. God doesn't dictate to us, this is the person. He gives us that, that ability to make a decision. But the more we involve him, the more he'll kind of reveal to us not only who we are, but who it is that, will be compatible for us, and who is the one that can essentially lead us to holiness. So when we look at the story of creation, when we look at Genesis, we see Adam. God created all of creation. He created the animals and the birds and everything, and he created Adam. And Adam wasn't satisfied because he couldn't find somebody that was compatible. But during that time of waiting for Eve, he had his intimate time with God, right? He had this time where he spent his intimate and his personal time with God. Then we see Eve. When Eve was being created, God actually put Adam into a deep sleep. So I'm sure he did that purposely, so he could have his intimate time with Eve as well. Both of them had their intimate time with God. And like that, each one of us need our intimate time with God. And when we do that, he'll reveal to us a lot of things about ourselves, and a lot of things that maybe we've never thought about before, or maybe we've never come to understand before. And if we struggle with that, some of us do. There's so many times in my life when I'm just like, God, I can't hear your voice. And that's when, our movement is blessed with so many elders, like JT said. And our church is blessed with so many spiritual directors who can help us with this. And one, thing about this thing of courtship is that when we like somebody, or when we have, are attracted to somebody, our lenses can be so clouded. We're like, that person is perfect. And the perfection is what's in our mind. And having this spiritual direction, or this eldering, is really useful there to kind of give us clarity on some things that we might not be seeing clearly, if we didn't have that, if we didn't like them, or if we did, weren't attracted to them. I just also wanted to say as well, there's we have people around us, like our elders and our friends, but we also have this heavenly army up in heaven. We have so many angels and saints who are there to pray for us. When I was discerning, I took St. Teresa of Lisieux as my patron for my discernment, and I know that even if I forget to pray for my future spouse, I know she's always there interceding. So that's something that maybe all of us can do if we are considering courting, or if we are considering marriage as our vocation. And lastly, the last thing I want to talk about is how Mother Mary was so convinced of her value and her worth as a child of God. And Gigi mentioned this, all of us need to know that, like, if we, nothing else in this world works out, if we know that we are a child, we're a beloved of the Father, then everything else, everything will cease to matter. Everything around us will, that may work out or may not work out, will cease to matter. And it was from this love that Mother Mary received from her Father that she was able to kind of flow out. From her came like a treasure, this unending source of love that she poured out to those around her. And because of this conviction that she had, that she was a child of God, I'm sure, like, when we think about Mother Mary, I'm sure she had so much kind of confusion about everything that was happening, but I'm sure that it was this conviction that took her forward, and she found her dignity in him and her dignity and worth in him who was constant, as opposed to those around her who were very much temporary. And Mother Mary, not just Mother Mary, but each one of us, when we see ourselves as a child of God, or as a son and daughter of God, that means every person around us is also a son and a daughter of God. And if we, if they're sons and daughters of God, and if I'm a child of God too, that means, they're my brothers and sisters. And we have a duty as, Christians and as children of God to, protect, to safeguard, to take care of, and to preserve the dignity of every person around us. So when we think of this, and then we come into courting, then there's a lot of things that we need to consider. The first of this is intentionality, like being intentional with courting. So for example, when you are maybe in a courting relationship or in a dating relationship, having the mindset that this can end in two ways. This can either end in marriage, or this will just end in separation, and not prolonging it with, for no, because maybe you feel that I'll find nobody else, there's no other Catholic guys or girls around, or because you're too afraid to kind of enter into another relationship. Again, when I was praying for this thought came to my mind. A lot of us have this fear that maybe we'll never find somebody. I remember when I was in university, when I was in university, I was in a relationship with somebody, and this was somebody that my parents knew, my siblings knew, his parents knew, and it was something that would probably have ended up in marriage. And deep in my heart, I knew that God was telling me, Della, this is not right. Della, this is not for you. Della, this is not something that, is good for you. But it took me so long. It took me months and months to come to this, to build up the courage to end it. And when I was intentionally prolonging something that I knew wasn't right, it not only was harming me, it was harming that person as well. And it becomes then this thing of use as opposed to love. You're not willing the good of that person, but you're prolonging something intentionally, and that causes harm. When we also think of, every person around us is a brother and sister, regardless if we're courting them or if we're not courting them. Remaining chaste becomes important as well. Having your boundaries, making sure that not only are you physically chaste, not having sex before marriage, or it doesn't even have to be sex before marriage, and keeping that keeping physically chaste, and also keeping emotionally chaste as well. Not kind of on the first time you meet that person just pouring out your whole heart and telling them everything. Making sure that you are keeping that keeping a sensible distance, and revealing things slowly and developing that relationship slowly. It also includes being vulnerable and honest enough. I think one thing that all of us want to do is appear to be perfect and very well put together, and we reveal sometimes what we want them to know. In courtship, it's important to make sure that we are sharing who our true selves are, and what our heart is like, as opposed to just exterior things that maybe we think they want to know. And what else? Praying for that person. I think all of us have a duty as individuals to pray for anybody, and people around us anyway. But when entering into time of courtship, or even before you are even in the process of courting, praying for the person, willing the good of that person, and praying that, Lord, whoever this person is going to end up with, bless them, make them holy, make both of us holy, and may we all may we reach sainthood, which is all of our ultimate goal as children of God. So just to end, God has a plan for each one of us. He has a plan that is beautiful. He has a plan that is that will make us truly joyful. And when we sit with him, he will reveal to us what the things are that we should be doing, what it is that we should be working on in ourselves, and what it is that maybe we should be looking for in another person. This whole process of discernment, dating, courting, whatever it is should be beautiful, and you should experience the gifts of the Holy Spirit, of joy, of peace. And if you don't, then it's time that if you are in a place where maybe you're courting with somebody and you don't feel peace, or you don't feel at home, you don't feel like this is right, and maybe it's a time to step back and ask God, is this what you want for me? Is this what you want for me in my life? Is this what's leading him to holiness, or is it what's leading her to holiness? And is it what's leading me to holiness? And like Our Lady, when we entrust our lives to him, and when we give him each little bit, the tiniest little details, he will work for our good, and make everything fall into place at the right time. Okay, that's from my end. Yeah, time's up. Thank you, G. Yeah. Right, I'll pass back to, is it Lisa?
Yes, it is. Thank you, guys. It was almost a tiny bit heavy. I don't like to think about I like to think I'm still 20 and not think of serious stuff like marriage and courtship. But there comes a point in your life where you have to. And so thank you for starting that process for me. I'm talking for myself. Like thinking back, one of the main things that stood out for me was, how when you're attracted to someone, you can literally not see the true essence of that person. You're just attracted to what your eye sees. And you really, I feel like, because I went through this where I was so, oh my God, this guy was so good looking. I just very much attracted to this dude. Okay. And he told me, oh, I think this is the girl I'm going to marry. And that should have like, the red flag should have come up in my head, but it didn't, because I was the attraction had like overtaken my common sense to think, oh, you know, he's actually with someone else. So the need for a god in our lives, it's very obvious. I don't think without that higher power we will be able to, at least I won't be able to see through a person or discern that kind of discernment, that divine discernment that comes, that is from the above. So thank you again for establishing that within us. Is there any questions that we can take? Yeah. So I've been told that you either text me or you text Roshan or you post in the chat, else keep it to yourself.
I can ask a question, Lisa.
Okay.
It's very much a continuation of your point, and something Della said about your vision being colored, you know, because you're infatuated with that person. So if either of you could comment on is there a role for detachment in the process of discernment, and how do you do it?
Mute.
Yeah, a role for what? Say that again, Nikhil.
Detachment.
Detachment. Yeah.
To bring in that objectivity in your reasoning.
So let me tell you, we can't be objective because we are us, right? And that's what we're trying to say, that I know what you mean, but let me come at you a little differently, because so we're saying about being holy, as in holy is something that we always think, oh gosh, perfect. That's not it. Holy is being completely reliant on God's grace, okay, and become the original. So your story, for that matter, will be as unique as you are. So yes, what Della was trying to share is that, yeah, you don't enter the relationship and then attach yourself so permanently that you're acting out in your body with all your actions and your words and everything what you haven't entered into. So like you wouldn't mimic a marital relationship, okay? And I think what I was trying to say is that you will need to have that, that time where you really discover their traits. How did they react to something? How did they do this? And typically, and I'm glad to know that this is not just an Indian context, but like all the speakers all around the world say this, I think, is that, it always helps to go out in public, to have friends around, to have family around, to have really good friends, as in go out in a group and see what they're really like. How do they interact with other people? How do they interact with children? How do they interact with older people? That gives you kind of indications of what their real character is like, and then do things that they like, as in, I don't know, hiking, going out, and do not limit it to the two of you too quickly. So I think, does that help the thing? Does that help? As in, so, to kind of first enter into a real friendship, to really know that person, and to, and at that point, then also to respect that, yes, this could go this way or that way, like Della was saying. And I don't want to end up hurt and crippled, nor does the other person want to do, you don't want that for the other person. So that a good solid friendship is probably the first thing that you can aim for. And then take it from there, and to also make it very clear, as in, to say that, yes, I am looking for somebody for life. It's not just for the next month. maybe that's clear in our cultural background, but nowadays it probably isn't. I tell you an example because I just realized I haven't introduced myself. I grew up in Germany. So my family is still in Germany. I went to school there, uni there. So I'm probably really similar to what you went through if you grew up in Ireland, as in at least like the European culture thing. And I thought I knew the Indian guys. I thought, this is what they're looking for. They're looking for a lifelong thing. But actually, I ended up speaking to a guy that I knew quite well. And we were just, speaking. And I was like, so, yeah, how about the girl you're with now? Are you planning on long term with her? And he said, well, that was the most shocking thing in my life. I'm not planning to get hitched up with the used car. I know that cars are really important in Germany. So it's a saying, okay? It's not as bad as it sounds in English, but it's pretty bad. And this was a guy really honestly talking to me because he thought I wouldn't go and destroy his next relationship because I wasn't bothered in that sense. I thought that really broke my heart, as in for the persons he was with. And I'm sure that there's ladies out there in the same kind of thinking. So to be intentional of what you want or what you're looking for in a relationship might not be so absurd after all, is what I'm thinking. I don't know. This is a lot what I just said. I hope that helps a little bit.
Just to add as well, I think it's important to kind of guard your heart while you are in this spotlighting me. To guard your heart while you're either in this process of courtship. At the end of the day, it's a time of discerning if this person's for me. So revealing everything about you, even physically becoming too intimate. I think all of those things can make it really hard if at the end of it you're not even meant to be together. So initially making sure that you don't give them privileges of maybe somebody that you're married to. There's certain boundaries you should keep firstly, and secondly, and through that guarding your heart. So if it comes to that point where you are no longer with discerning with that person or courting with that person, it doesn't become so hard to separate. Obviously there will be difficulties because you will somewhat get attached however much you try not to, and also not constantly speaking. I think courtship doesn't mean that you spend 24/7 together and you're always speaking. You need to know everything about each other. It's slowly developing that friendship, and from that going on, finding more and more and more, not kind of, like I said earlier, just telling them everything on the first time you go on a date or something like that. So I think there's two things: guarding your heart firstly, and starting with friendship, like JJ said, and going from there and spending time apart. So that limits the chance of overly being attached to that person, which will make it a lot harder if you are to not go through with it.
Just to add a word or two, I think what you need to put at the back of your mind too is that if you meet this person and you guard yourself against exclusive relationship, it's exclusive. That means he or she cannot have other friends, cannot relate with other people. You have to monitor whose call he or she is speaking, who is he talking to, who is he Facebooking with, who is he tweeting. That is an exclusive relationship. So it is no longer a genuine relationship. It is a relationship that is already forcing the person into a personality that is not natural, that is not real. Secondly, it's a manipulative relationship. So if the relationship becomes a monitoring kind of a relationship, then there is manipulation. And when you manipulate a person, the person have to act either to please you or to please herself or himself. So there is a manipulation, which makes it unnatural and makes it insincere and untruthful. And there's already a possession because it is exclusive. You are seeing the person as a possession. It's a property. So because it's a property, you begin to feel a sense of responsibility, even when there is no commitment, when there is no formal commitment. So once you have a friend that you're relating with and you discover that these three basic characteristics are part of the storyline, they know that you are not trying to build up a courtship because you're only trying to, you are literally married, but pretending that you're having a courtship. But a courtship means you have a friend who is free, who can do what he or she wants, and go to hang out with whoever he or she wants. And it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't offend you, because you're just trying to understand this person and see how the person suits into your own kind of lifestyle or what you want to do for the future. And that person too is trying to understand you and see how your life suits into his or her own vision and dream of life. So in that case, that is a courtship, because the two of you are not trying to manipulate yourselves. You're not trying to possess one another, and you're not trying to be exclusive. So you're still giving room for opportunities outside you each other. And that is the kind of relationship now that the person becomes very plain and open. So it gives you room and the opportunity to understand the person and to see how that person suits into your life. So if you begin a relationship with somebody and you discover that it's kind of exclusive, is possessive, is manipulative, then you know it is not going to lead you anywhere, because at the end of the day, you're going to marry somebody who is purely artificial, who is purely stage acting, because he or she knows your expectations and is just stage acting what you want and giving you what you expect. So at the end of the day, you're going to have somebody who is not really the person in himself or herself. I don't know if that added a bit.
No, absolutely. That's great. Thank you.
So I have one more question. Well, I have two. I'll go with the first.
Lisa?
Is she frozen for anybody else?
Yeah, she is stuck. Yeah, she lost connection.
If you have any questions, maybe you can ask.
Yeah, I'll ask a question. I got a question from the audience. So the question is that, how can you pull yourself from being attached with someone, knowing that they can't be yours, but you're just emotionally attached, and it's not as easy as saying go dive it yourself? Would you recommend any advice, like if you're emotionally attached to a person?
Or no, as in, yes. This is what we're saying. It's probably impossible to like be completely detached, when you're trying to pursue this. So to kind of, I wonder if that person was intentional, so that, then yes, probably this can lead to marriage. But this is where we say that, an outside view can really help. So a friend, a friend who is in faith. Okay, this is very important. Lots of friends are for different, things. But as you are striving, I mean, hopefully that person is meaning that, is striving to find somebody for marriage, for a sacrament for life. A trusted friend who is in faith, who can pray with you, and who's standing outside and can see things probably a little more clearly than you are at this point, is really helpful. A spiritual elder is really helpful to pray with you and to like kind of help you, but you have to be open. I know when you're emotionally attached, you don't want to probably hear anything else, but this is where you have to trust that the comfort you're feeling now is not everything, okay? It's not everything. You have to open, and this is where what Father said is as well, that that you are open and plain, and you leave room for other relationships to blossom around you. So if you have gone down the path that you're emotionally attached, that nothing else matters, and it's just a universe of you two, that this is it's not the best way to court. You need to take steps back, let other people back into your life. See this person that you're in a relationship with among other people, see their behavior, see how they are. Are they trying to act according to values that are important to you? I think, Della, you were saying about having a list of 3 non-negotiables. What does that mean, Della? Can you say that?
Yeah, so I think I missed this bit out actually.
Don't worry, that's
we generally should have, I think, we should have a list of things that we would I think a list of things is good, but they should be done in prayer. That's the one thing I learned. When we kind of sit and just make a list, we kind of think about a lot of other things. When you sit in prayer and just write a list of things that you would hope for in a future spouse, and things, okay, you hope for firstly, and things that are non-negotiable. So this is like, for us, maybe it could be things that are faith related. It could be, somebody who whose stance wouldn't move on maybe contraception, because that's what our church teaches, that contraception shouldn't be allowed. So things like that, having a list is also useful. Just to answer that question as well, I think just some practical things. I think, this whole thing of attachment, it is hard, but I think there's a couple of things we can do. So for example, if, we have a habit of speaking to this person a lot, if there's you're spending maybe after 10 o'clock, or you wake up and you're replying to this person's message, it's not going to help stop that attachment. Giving space between you and that person, number one. Number two, I think, I don't know if this is, maybe guys, you do this as well, but as girls, I do anyway, your mind does a lot of thinking that it shouldn't do sometimes. So you dream about things, you dream about the future. I think making sure, if you are attached to somebody, every time a thought about that person comes to mind, and you shouldn't be thinking about that person because there's no future to that relationship, maybe then kind of maybe saying a Hail Mary, or making sure that in your mind you're not getting attached to that person is a big thing, because it's really easy to dream, it's really easy to think about you two maybe getting married, and I don't know what dress you're going to wear, all these things that we do naturally. It's important to kind of have that, make sure in your mind you're not using that person for the sake of your kind of temporary pleasure. And I think things like that will help with detaching yourself from an individual.
I think it's always also helpful to bear in mind that if you know this isn't going to be your person, then there is someone else who is your person. And what are they going to feel or think, or how are they going to be if they see what I'm doing right now? I think that can be another thing that can help to not prolong courting, knowing that, okay, if you have a clear indication this is not it, then maybe you should get out, so you can then till the land of your heart to open your heart for whoever it is.
I think we had this question as well, how long should courting go on for? I'm really, really sorry, we cannot give you an answer. But I'll tell you a few examples, okay? So I remember in our downstairs kitchen, sitting with few of our youth in Jesus Youth, and they're dearly beloved to us, honestly. And they had moved into our area. We were just sitting, having food, and they're like, how is this ever going to happen to me? How do I know this is the right person? How am I going to make this decision? This is such a difficult decision. How am I ever going to know? And I remember talking to particularly two girls like this, saying, don't you think that God who created you can talk in a way that you understand? Don't you think he will make it clear to your heart? And I can't tell you how he's going to do it, because if I tell you, you won't listen to me. I can't convince your heart. I can't. But he is the one who made you. He has the master plan of how he built you. Don't you think he'll talk to you, or he make your heart ready? And I said this, and I said it with such a conviction, and I was really, really sure. And but the moment they both stepped out of the door, I remember telling my husband, God better deliver on this. I hope I haven't misled them. And when is it going to happen? And all of that. And I said, don't worry, when the right time comes, because you are seeking with God, he cannot lead you astray. He can just not do that. He will deliver because he's faithful. And guess what? A couple months later, these girls, they said, okay, we met somebody, or we heard through somebody and stuff, and pray for us, blah blah blah. And one January, I remember exactly where we were, and I received this phone call, and within 10 days or 14 days, both of these girls decided and told me, oh, we're getting married on this date. And the third person I was praying for was a cousin of mine in the same situation, who lives in India, and who for Indian standards was quite old and hadn't found somebody. And these three people's marriages were fixed within those 10, 14 days in 1 January. And, I was so overwhelmed. I was in tears, thanking God that he delivered. And I think, more than their marriages, they were so excited, but I was so excited that God did what he promised, that he could convince these people. And he will do it for you. I am absolutely sure. I am. Because he is so much more concerned for you than you are. And if you ask me how long, how thing is so unique as you are, we don't know. And it's the thing where we're training our faith, we're training our trust, that when the time comes, we will know because he's faithful. I am so sorry. Della, do you have a definite answer?
I don't think so, but I think prolonging it unnecessarily is not a good idea either. I think, not going for like 3 to 5 years, or, just going on and on. And I think that's where involving elders, family members, all that comes in, because, I think they'll help with decision making, and they'll make the decision making, and bringing it to, and then whatever decision you decide to make. Yeah.
But just to add, I think when courtship stays for too long, it takes away the joy of marriage itself. So if you find yourself staying too long in a courtship, you might just end up feeling married even when you get married. So the excitement of a new life won't be there. So if you find yourself that you're staying with somebody for too long and you're not understanding the person, then you may never graduate. You're in a university that you won't graduate. So the earlier you leave and find somebody who you'll find so easy to understand will be better. So if you stay too long in a courtship, it won't help you as a person, because we're human beings. Let's not claim to be angels. So I know the more you stay close to somebody and you get familiar and you get used to the person, familiarity brings contempt, begins to create room for taking the person for granted. It begins to take room for making utterances and comments that are not necessary. And then you expose your human weakness, your morality. You place your morality at stake because you're already feeling so close to this person. And at that point, you find yourself beginning to live a life contrary to your own ideals and the expectations of the faith. But if you find somebody, and that's why it's always good to kind of begin courtship with somebody you are related with, somebody you had known, so that you already have a little background, a little understanding of the person even before you get to that stage. So before you come to a decision of even thinking, okay, let me get close to this person for courtship, you should have done some background check on your own to be sure that, okay, look, I know these basic facts about the person. I don't know much, but if I get closer, I might know more. So it reduces your time and reduces the moral pressure, the social pressure, and the expectations that you might begin to struggle with. So I just think that could be an idea too.
Thank you, Father. That's great. And you know what? I just wanted to read out something that I saw today on an Instagram account of, you might know, Emily Wilson. She's a speaker and a musician, and she speaks a lot on this topic about dating. And there's 100 millions of lovely, helpful videos out there. So if you want into like details, check out Emily Wilson, Chastity Project, lifeteen.com. Lots of little articles that help you in the details. Okay. And you know what she wrote today? And I thought, this is brilliant. I must read this to you if the question comes, and it came. So she says, I want to remind you of this truth once again. You will not have to chase your future spouse. You will not have to compromise your morals and values. Downplay your faith. Constantly try to keep him or her interested so he or she doesn't move on to the next guy or girl, or continually try to figure out how to get him or her to finally commit to you and stay committed to you. You will not have to do some song and dance to keep him or her around. You will not have to bring sex into the relationship or keep sex as part of the relationship to keep him or her interested. Lastly, you won't have to convince him of how great you are and what a fantastic wife or husband and possibly father or mother you would be for him or her and their children. They will see it, they will know it, and they will make sure they don't lose it. Okay? And she says it with the utmost tone of encouragement, and I do too, honestly. When you pray, when you walk with God and you search, please trust that it will happen. He will speak, but you have to be open to also listen and not kind of close yourself in and have pre-decided on something and just ask him to bless it. Don't do that. Be open, listen to his voice and follow it. Because as scary as it might seem at the point, there is a beautiful blessing out there for you and a beautiful, blessed life, really.
So guys, just jumping in there in between, we do I know that we are past 7:30, but and those who want to leave, please don't hesitate to leave. There's nothing wrong with leaving between. We'll be carrying on with Q&A for a bit more longer. We have a lot of questions coming in. So if you want to stay, you're more than welcome to stay, but don't hesitate to leave if you have to be somewhere else as well. So Chechi will be streamlining the questions a bit more as they come in. So Alvin, you had a question there if you want to ask.
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't know if someone else had a question first. Well, I just wanted to say something. I think it's something I really agreed with, which was about people not really looking at red flags when they're getting emotionally attached to a person. So kind of reminded me of this like quote from a show, which was when you're wearing rose-colored lenses, all the red flags just look like flags, so you just miss everything. And I think, so I think it's a really big danger to have that sort of closeness and something that needs to be watched. But my question kind of branches off that, which is, I think a lot of courtship then focuses on kind of group activities and kind of spending time in groups just to see how the other person interacts with other people and not just you, because if two people are infatuated with each other, they're just going to be like their best selves. So the question is, how would a courtship be maintained in a situation like this where everything's like locked down or something like that? Or not even just that, it's just if it's a long distance or something like that, where it's going to be a lot more focused on the two people, because I know you mentioned earlier it's not immediately to focus on just the two people, but in certain scenarios it's going to be it's just going to be that way. So that was the question. I don't know if that was clear. Yeah.
Particular lady that I was reading from, Emily Wilson, she did long distance, so you should just check it out a little bit more. But even when they were going out, then they would go out in public places. Like they wouldn't stay together in one room overnight. They wouldn't they would go out in a public place, it's not always, and then at night by themselves, and you know exactly where you're weak, right? Like I'm talking to university students. Hello. You know where you don't go, or where you go and where you become really vulnerable and go to things that you don't want to do. You know that. I'm not talking.
Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to clarify in the question. It was more it was less about
lockdown, right?
Sorry, no. It was just more it just on the limitations on that, where it's basically like if two people are just
yeah. And I didn't court in a lockdown, and that is the actual fact of the matter. But if you go through it, and if I know this is a very difficult situation, and it's and if it's long distance, then this is probably the only way you're going to be meeting up at this point. But then if it's a constant thing, if it goes on late at night, if it goes on chatting into more intimate details than when you put down the phone you should have done or chatted, then definitely you can restrain that. I mean, you will have to and probably it's so hard to do on your own, and this is where you have to have a really good friend that helps you, as they call accountability partner. Have you heard that before? And that is a really good, like, if you tell this friend, could you please remind me if I cross this line, or if I go somewhere and become a monkey for somebody else, could you just tell me to stop it, to quit? Yeah. If I turn to be somebody else just to please somebody else, will you knock me on the head? Please do have a friend like that. Please do have a friend that will just tell you straight in the face, actually, you're being a clown just to please that person at this point. Or, when they know that you're turning into somebody else for somebody else, that's not, you're not being that person that you are. So that doesn't help. Now,
Sorry, sorry again.
I know it's not your question, but like,
I think I was just really unclear on what I was
no,
asking.
it's just me not trying to get, also not being able to say, like, are you meeting online? Like, if you're
no, that's not the. So the actual question is, how do you know exactly what the person is like without being in a situation where it's out in a group or with other people? Because you're not seeing how they interact with other people. You don't know how they interact with their parents. You don't know how they are when you're not yet.
I think it's important to make a decision on that. And I I really don't know your situation. I don't want to judge you here or anything, but can you not wait to make a decision until you have seen that? Is that not possible? I know that I've just switched in the gallery view. There's some couples out here. Maybe they want to say something too. Jennifer and Naveen. Let me see.
I think Naveen wrote a long treatise on this topic in the chat.
I saw that. It's amazing. Thank you.
I think, Alvin, in the meantime, just something that came to my mind was, lockdown is not forever. I think when it ends, physically meeting that person is something really important. And meeting in the company of others, I think finding opportunities, if you're in 2 different countries, finding time, at some point to do that. Secondly, I think this is where your family plays a big role. I think, again, like this goes back to your lenses being clouded. And this also answers the question of when am I ready to start dating, start courting. It's when you're ready to get your parents involved and get them to, maybe speak to this person. That's really helpful as well, because your parents know you more than, like, this is something I've learned. They know a lot more about you than maybe you know about yourself sometimes. They can see what is good for you, and they can really help as well to kind of, when they speak to that person, or when they see what you're like with that person. Also, if you have mutual friends, speaking to them in confidentiality, asking, do you think we're compatible from your, obviously don't go take it word for word, but having that guidance from friends as well. But I think physically meeting is a must, right? You can't like just talk over the phone and be like, okay, this is it, we're gonna get married. Like, you need to see each other as well. And I think making time for that at some point, maybe later into the courting, what is, yeah. I hope that answers your question.
And it doesn't have to, as in, but something, I think you can't, the thing that you decide from the screen is a little scary to me as well. I don't know, but it doesn't have to be so many times that you meet up or anything. I didn't, but funny thing is, I never expected, this is the other thing, never expected to know at some point that I was sure. And I never, that's the other thing. I was in Jesus Youth and everything. I never expected God to actually show up and tell me as I asked him. I mean, I did expect it, because otherwise I wouldn't ask. But to actually be able to like hear it and be like, whoa, this is happening. And to not be afraid at that point, to like trust, to be able to trust and to take a step forward and to, do this. And then things falling in place, as Della was saying, with family as well and stuff. That really was amazing that happened. It's still a kind of a little miracle if I look back. But this is the place I'm talking about, that it will happen for you. Sorry if I say this too many times.
Oh, where is Chechi? So Chechi, we had one common question that came up a few times now, is that, where is it now? So what is the difference between courting and dating in actual terms, if there is one?
Yeah, I mean, I think people like tend to like the word courtship a little bit more because it was more intentional and oriented towards a goal, like a goal of marriage, and that was it's an olden term, isn't it? And now it's become more trendy in Catholic culture because it personifies more this intentionality that you're not just using a person. Whereas dating in the common culture is like this lot of hookup culture and this kind of only for some time, and I can see where it leads me, kind of like going with the flow, that all of that, where there's a lot, where there's either no intentionality or a lot less intentionality. So whatever word you use doesn't matter. But what would you, I mean, and probably courtship would um embody more of what we are talking here. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you call it dating or courting, but please do it with intentionality. But yes, probably in terms of what we're trying to say, courting probably embodies more what we're trying to say. But yeah, you can use whatever word, but
Thank you, Chechi.
and I
Another,
think one important question
yeah.
I've seen is like how to deal with rejection, heal a broken heart. Very, very, very important. I thank you for asking it, and thank you for putting it out there. If you have dealt with it, it's painful. It affects you physically. It affects everything that you have, because yes, we were created for that longing, and that's where you see how much you have bonded, because you see the pain and the brokenness. But the good news again is God does not. He loves you so much that he doesn't want to leave you in that. You have to make intentional steps to meet somebody, with someone, talk about this, talk about what happened, pray with that person for healing. It is really available to you, and it's available in confession. If there are sinful things, you need to confess. Go to the Lord in Eucharistic adoration. The source of healing flows there freely. Okay. And this is not just healing from rejection now, healing for whatever in your life. Go to the Lord. Go to the Lord. Receive the Eucharist as often as possible, however difficult it is now. Make sure you go to these private prayer opportunities in your churches. Sit before the Lord, receive his healing, but also pray with people. And you will be able to love again. You will be able to heal. You will, and then spend some time in enjoying your personality, enjoying what you're good at, enjoying what to do, what you like, become that best version of yourself. And then you will be able to heal and start over again. Really, very, very important.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think like one of the things, when you have like a wound, if you keep picking at it, it'll worse and it won't heal, right? And I think thinking or dwelling on the past is not something that you should do. If you know that something has come to an end, it has come to an end. Like if somebody's, ended a relationship with you, that's, there's no point in dwelling on that. And I think, having good friends that you can spend time with, and just enjoying this time of singlehood, and not kind of, I think a lot of the time when we're so comfortable in a relationship, this aloneness or this time alone just seems really daunting. But being comfortable with yourself, to be able to spend time with yourself, is so important. If we can't be happy as singles, we're probably not going to be happy as married couples or whatever, right? So just making sure that we're comfortable in ourselves as individuals, and not dreaming, if it was 2 years ago, then 2 years, going back to that moment and thinking about it over and over again won't help. And again, like what always helps me is just saying a Hail Mary. If any thought that is not of God and not good for me comes to my mind, saying Hail Mary, because Mother Mary will then protect you and pray for you. And just having good friendships, having good, healthy relationships with both genders, and spending time to do that is really kind of occupying yourself with things, not kind of dwelling. Yeah.
Yeah. And on a practical note as well. So if you feel like you're overflowing with, we said this in preparation, we laughed, but it's true. If you're overflowing with hormones and you just feel like, oh, if I could just unload this on somebody and that'll be the happiness that I'm looking for or whatever. The good news is there is other ways to deal with this overflow of love that you might be feeling. Is like, it's actual physical acts of service, um, uh, that your sexuality, first of all, is not to suppress, but to really like, what are these hormones are playing at is relating with another person, and that is God given, okay? But how can we use it when we're single, when we're not intentionally courting? We can actually put ourselves, our physical energy and everything into service for others. So like, help in the soup kitchen, not in lockdown probably, but, or there might be take some vocational steps. Did somebody said that? So if you have never, if you heard about us talking about vocations and you have never considered anything else, I urge you, I plead with you to consider it, because you can't be a good mother, or wife, if you haven't got the heart of a good nun, okay? Because how are you ever going to foster vocations in your family if you don't really like religious life or a priest? These kind of things. You can't be a good priest if you don't have a good fatherly heart. I hope Father Monty agrees with me here. If you don't feel that you can be a father to your flock, then how can you be a good priest? Okay, so you can't just run to say, oh, I want to be married because I really had a bad experience with a nun or a priest when I was 6 or 9 or whatever, so I really hate nuns or priests. No, that's not what it is about. Take some vocational steps means you could spend a weekend at a monastery or a convent, these come and see weekends, where they just discern the vocation weekends kind of thing. Again, probably not in lockdown, but after that, do that, or go to a family, stay with them for a weekend, talk with them, help them around the house, and if they have children, play with them, and see what it's like. So and pray there. God will definitely show up to speak with you. So you don't have to be inactive and wait till it's fallen on your head. So we're just trying to encourage you to be as active about this as possible.
Okay, so this is one last question. I had this question about for dawn of time. Sorry for keep you waiting, that person. This is regarding arranged marriages, right? When you don't have the luxury of time to get to know the other person in different environments, with family, with friends. How does he treat the waiter? That kind of stuff. What is your advice for people like that? What are the key characteristics that you could look in that person to know, I will be happy with this person? Or can you?
A tough one. Okay, so I hope that when you leave today, you will start talking to God. You will start that relationship first, okay? Please promise me you will. Because then slowly you will find these 3 non-negotiables that you write down. You'd start talking to God about these characteristics that you have thought out. And it might very well be that they change. You change in your conversation with God, those qualities might change. Then when I got introduced to, my husband now, I prayed one prayer. I had a few, lists like this. I was like, Lord, let my priorities be in a way that you see him. Change my priorities in a way to see, change the qualities that I'm looking for in a way that you look, and make it clear to me if I need to change anything. I didn't have to change one single thing. That is the truth of the matter. Not that it's easy at all. Not at all. And not that we had like a, rosy way with the red rose lenses. No, not at all. But God honors you so much more than you honor yourself. So make that the priority. Make that relationship the priority. And then if you end up having an arranged marriage, and that is the funniest thing, it can happen. I had a friend in Jesus Youth in Germany who was a complete German. He just looked Indian. He was a complete German inside. And he had German friends. He ended up doing an arranged marriage, and they're happy. And if somebody had told me that he would do that beforehand, I would never in my life believe that. It's like, no, him, never. But he did it, and it was right for him, and he knew it. And I don't think he spent a lot of time. God really knows how he made him convinced. I don't know. But see, for me, though I was very Indian, or so I thought, it wasn't possible. And I told the Lord few things, and all of them he honored. As in, I said, I can't do a lot of this. Sorry if there's anybody who can't speak Malayalam. I said, I can't really do a lot of these pendanganals. I visited my aunt in America at some point. They're like, oh, you're coming anyways. Let's have a few of those. And I said, Lord, no, I cannot do that. If you're hearing this now, make it not happen. And thankfully, my parents were on my page. I didn't see anybody else than the one who's downstairs here. And he didn't either. And that is the other big miracle. He's so picky and choosy, even to find a jeans or a pair of shoes. He will go through like 50 before he decides on one. But in this case, he only saw one. And how that happened? It's because the Lord is very powerful, very powerful to change and attune your heart when he needs to. Okay, so ours was like a semi-arranged. I'd seen him before, but I never considered that. And then when it came to the time, we both get convinced independently. Not independently as in we didn't talk to each other, but we made sure this is one thing that, I knew God is more important to him than I, and that is very good. Because God is more important to me than to him, than him as well. So he will attune our hearts accordingly. And we have seen it time and time again in every struggle that we go through, that has been a stronghold of our marriage, that, God is not letting go of us.
Thank you, Saumya, for that. So guys, so sorry, but that was the last question. I had a good few more questions coming my way, but unfortunately, this is the end of this section. We even went over time, so that's why I have to stop it. But hopefully, your questions were indirectly answered through all the other questions that were just answered. So I'd like to especially thank you, Saumya and Della. I think last time Della wasn't there. But you were, so thank you for the last 2 weeks. Last week you gave us a talk on modesty, today on courtship. So thank you for your time and parting your wise wisdom.